Hello, and welcome to my 5 tips and tricks for new Path of Exile players. Are you a new player trying to play Path of Exile but it feels a lot like repeatedly running into a brick wall? Have you played all the way to the end game but feel confused as to how some of the mechanics works? Or maybe you feel stuck in your progression? That will happen in this game. A lot, but I might be able to help you. In this video I will give you 5 tips and tricks that hopefully will help you in some way. If you have any question at all about the game that I didn't touch in this video, please feel free to comment down below. First tip, build guides. If you have not yet chosen a build or began your journey through the land of Rayclast, then you should be looking up a build guide to follow. Path of Exile is not as streamlined when it comes to being beginner friendly, and this turns a lot of people off from the game only after a couple of hours. Of course, if you want to, you can still play your own build, and if what you are searching for in a game is customization and depth in character progression and optimizing all the nooks and crannies of the passive tree, then my friend, you have come to the right place. However, I will not go over how to create your own build in this video, but you can expect it in the future. I will now show you how to navigate through a build guide, as it might be confusing for some new people. So, here we have Enki's Self-Cast Archwitch. So I chose this build because it's extremely beginner friendly, cheap, it has easy mechanics, and it's really easy to get going with this build. So, in most build guides you will usually see an introduction to the build guide, maybe to the composer, explain why he made this build. Then you will probably see some videos of some boss kills showing the build what it's capable of. Then in most cases you will see some pros and cons, maybe some mechanics that is special to the build. Then we will get to the most important part, and the most important part in my opinion for a new player is the leveling section. So the leveling section in this build guide will take you through the entire game from Act 1 to Act 10 and also into maps. And this is why I chose this guide. If you're really a new player that has never played this game before, try this build. Try this build guide. It will help you so much. It will explain to you what spells to use, when you get the spells, which passives you should pick up in the passive tree, at what time, what you should focus on, what stats you want on your gear. Every single thing it goes through in this build. And it's important to note that not all build guides will be this detailed. This is probably the most detailed beginner's guide that's out there, in my opinion. But choose a build guide, read it through, stick with it for some time, and have fun. And this will help you a lot. Loot filters. Now, this is one of those things that makes Path of Exile more accessible to everyone. You just have to know about it. So you see me run past a bunch of crappy white and blue items, and you can't really tell if there's anything good in those piles. You just see a bunch of white and blue items, and we don't want to see them. So I change to a loot filter, and bam, everything is gone. It's still there, but you can't see it. So there's a good item that we couldn't see from all the trash before. Now this is what a loot filter is good for, especially if you're a new player. It will tell you what the good stuff is by highlighting it, making cool pillars right up in the sky. And it will just hide all the bad things that you don't want to pick up, so you won't even see them, so you can't even pick them up. It's great. And now I will show you how to install one of these. So here we have filterblade.xyz. Now this lets you customize Neversink's loot filter, and this loot filter is the best for beginners, I believe. So here, strictness, you should choose regular. This means that quite a lot of items will show up, but it will filter out the most bad stuff. If you put it on, let's say, uber strict, it will filter so many items away. Don't do that unless you're a semi-pro at this game and playing at a really high pace, just trying to get as much currency as possible. Here you can change the style, get something that you like, play around with it, do what you want, and when you're done, you go to download, you go to download, there we go. Then you change your name to whatever you want, and you hit download. When this is ready, pop up the map that it's in, go into Path of Exile, click Options, UI, scroll to the very bottom, it will be a button there, click Show Folder, and now just drag your new filter into this map, and you're good to go. So there, boom, then you just reload, and there you got it. So that's how to install a loot filter. Simple as that. So here we got a neat little trick called attack while standing still, and if you watch me here, I try to attack with Molten Strike and my character moves a bit before he uses it. And we don't want that because that will maybe cause us to die in the future. So what we can do about that is if you click the skill in the action bar right there, you see the option always attack without moving. And what that does is exactly what it says it does. If I try to cast my spell now, he will always stand still while casting it or attacking with it. And this is great. This makes a lot of builds feel amazing. And Molten Strike is really one of those. So if your build feels a bit clunky, try to enable that option, and it will probably feel less clunky. So here we have vendor recipes. This is quite important in my opinion, since you will be using it a lot throughout the entire game. And there's a lot of different kind of vendor recipes, but I will show you the most important ones in my opinion. So first off, we have a simple currency exchange. And what this means is you sell a currency to a vendor and you will be rewarded with a different kind of currency. So the first up is the armor scrap, and the armor scrap will sell for 2 identification scrolls. You will find a lot of armor scrap, so this is quite nice since you will be using a ton of identification scrolls. But as I will show you here, you can also sell blacksmith whetstones, and you will be rewarded with 4, twice as much. So this is what I do. I just pick up some blacksmith whetstones and I sell them for some scrolls of wisdom. Next up is the chromatic recipe, and the chromatic recipe is quite a simple recipe but very important. So for the chromatic recipe we need any piece of item that has 3 different colors linked. So that's the only important part, that it has 3 different colors and they are all linked. So here you can see we have a sniper bow with a red, green and blue socket, and they are all linked. So it can be any item level, does not matter, and you will be rewarded with a chromatic orb. Collect as many of these as you can. Next up we have the jeweler's recipe, and for the jeweler's recipe we need any item with 6 sockets. They don't need to be linked in any particular way, and you will be rewarded with 7 jeweler orbs. As you can tell, 6 sockets linked however you like, and you will be rewarded with 7 jeweler's orbs. And this is quite nice since you can buy fusings with them, you can increase the sockets on your gear with them, you can do quite a lot of things with these orbs. Next up we have the chaos recipe, which might seem a little intimidating at first glance, but I promise you it's simple. Everything you need for this is every piece of wearable equipment, and either a 2-handed weapon, 2 one-handed weapons, or a 1-handed weapon and a shield. The only thing that matters in this recipe is that the item level of the item is above 60 and below 75. So as you can see here, if you press Alt, you can see the item level right there. The items have to be in that range, because if they're above level 75, you will be rewarded with a Regal Orb instead of a Chaos Orb, and if they are below 60 you will get nothing. So we want to keep them in that range. And if one of the items like this one is above 74, it does not matter as long as all items are not above level 75. So we take all these items, put it in our inventory, like that. Go to the vendor and we just sell them all, and you will see that we will be rewarded with a Chaos Orb, like that. Trading is a big part of the game, and Chaos Orbs are the most common currency when it comes to trading with other players. This is why it's so goddamn important to collect as many of these as you can. The last tip I got for you is the UI options. So here I will show you what I use. There's a lot of different options in Path of Exile when it comes to the UI. Play around with it, find what you like, but I will give you my setup here. So first of all, you will see the screen shake, and the screen shake is that when you hit a critical strike, the screen will shake. I find that annoying, so I turn it off. You can try it on. If you do not like it, disable it. If you like it, keep it on. Next up, we got some map stuff. So corner map, if you see here, I have the map in the center because I have tabbed. And when I tab again, you will see that I get the corner map. I like this. I'm used to playing games that has similar settings, so I play with it. Auto center map. You can, if you tab, you can use your arrow keys to move the map around. If you use auto center, the next time you hit tab, it will center. Here you can play around with the transparency of the landscape and the map. I like to have a small map so I can see as much as possible. I also like to have the map transparency high and the landscape transparency low. As I said, play around with it, find what you like. Next up we have always highlight, as you can see in the stash and the vendors there. If you have always highlight on, you will see the names. This works with waypoints and areas too. Always shows sockets. I will open my inventory here and show you. And always shows sockets means that you will always see the sockets, simple as that. You will see here in a minute right there. So now I have it off, and you have to hover your mouse over it or hold Alt to see. But if you enable that option, if I can find it, there, you can see that I don't have to do anything and I will see all of the sockets. So next up we got the life and mana levels and the mini bars. So I don't know if these are on by default or not, but I think they're not. And this just shows your life and mana levels by numbers above them instead of having to hover over them to see. So yeah, next up is the life minibars on allies and enemies. And again, I don't know if these are on by default, but I think they're not. This helps you a ton, especially if you don't see the enemies and you hit them and a life bar will pop up over them. As I said in the beginning, just try these things out, see what you like and use whatever you like. But this is what works for me. Alright, that is it for this video. If you have any questions about the video, please comment and I will try to answer as many as I can. I will leave the links I used in the video in the description. I got some videos planned for the upcoming Synthesis League, so keep an eye out for that in the near future, and until then, good luck, Exiles.